podcast, killing everybody, taking dog tags. Dog, this is awesome, it's Optimus Prime, and your quadrant is talking, and you got that.
I was in a mind when I crafted this. The dungeon master's wrath with a dash of sick. I dash like Sonic Mad, not a pacifist, but pacifist the tracks when I'm rapping, kids. We the last of us, the master race. Take him with a master hand, it's cancerous. I hit him with the master sword, and sure I make a nice sword, but I wonder how four guys make a Triforce.
Hey guys, welcome to the Trinity Force podcast. Sorry for the really late intro. I was moving windows around and I screwed up. So I was trying to get the windows all set up because it started to play the music when we were going live, and then I could hear it, and I'm like, no, they can hear the music twice. This is awful. Anyway, my name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and I am your host for episode number 159 of the Trinity Force podcast. As always, I'm going to start at the bottom left here. So Dom is joining us again tonight.
Do you have all the lyrics to the intro song memorized at this point?
Yeah, I do.
So he doesn't play the audio for the rest of us at the start. So I don't actually, I've heard it a few times. I'm like, oh yeah, this song is the shit. And then I always watch you mouthing along the lyrics.
Every time. And twerking a little bit in your chair.
It's a good intro song. I mean, I realize it doesn't have anything.
Don't hate. I chair dance at work all the time. It happens.
Well, I mean, just sometimes. Sometimes I'll be sitting there really jamming. Someone come talk to me, and I'm like, "What the fuck do you want?" I'm in the middle of a really good song. So.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
I feel you.
DeClaude's here.
Hi.
Hi, DeClaude.
Hello.
By the way, guys, we're still best friends with DeClaude, even though you made me rage quit last episode.
Yeah, it's a love-hate thing.
And
Sean supported me too. So.
Yeah, I was here with the city.
He's my buddy.
Yeah, I
got you, baby.
I had your back, Adam.
Appreciate that. Yep.
You did have my back. It was actually funny. Cheers. I'm a little upset that I came back into the room at the end of that episode because that was a legit rage quit. Like, if you guys think that was set up and fake, I was legit mad at DeClaude for continuing with these ADC puns. This is why you have to watch this show live if you can catch it on Monday and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, because my face, when he said I was legitimately mad, my face was red. I had the mic moved away from my mouth, and I just couldn't talk.
And then he has that
straw that broke the camel's back was Sean's, because that's the one that made you drop the mic, so to speak.
Yeah.
The best is when the rage quitting happens and you have the sudden realization that you're the only person with the power to actually turn the stream off.
Yeah, that's why I had to walk back into the room. That's why if you hear me yelling, because I was like, God damn it, I have to actually turn the stream off. I have to walk back into the room because I was going to stay out and just say, fuck you guys.
You also missed the slow blinks that I've become notorious for. The chat loves them.
Yes.
I know. Yeah, you guys.
I don't even realize I'm doing them. That's the worst part. That's the really worst part about that. that it's not a forced thing 99% of the time.
I'm gonna slow blink you just because we have a lot to talk about tonight, and I'm trying to get through the news.
Patch notes, right?
Yeah, but I want to get just one more piece of news. Guys, on May 22nd, DeClaude is playing in the T-Force Battle Arena presented by Victorious Gaming. I keep saying Game Victorious because their Twitch channel is Game Victorious. I think it's twitch.tv/Game Victorious. Victorious Gaming. I don't know what the hell it is. You guys can go find it over at tinyurl.com/T-Force tournament. You guys will find the stream there. You'll find the sign-up page. All you have to do is sign up, then show up 30 minutes beforehand in the TeamSpeak server. You'll get drafted to a team. You'll get to play, and you can win RP. It's like 3,200 RP plus tournament rise if you win the entire thing. And if that's not big RP, you can get almost the entire SKT1 skin set with that RP.
That's nuts.
Nice.
I think it's like 32.50 or something.
It's a lot of money. It's like $50, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a decent amount.
It's about $35, I think, or $25.
Good for a free tournament just to go play.
Yeah, go play, get your skills better, and it's going to be like a normal tournament, a normal battle arena where we're going to help you, but we're also going to shoutcast it like Game Victorious. It's going to be like this cool mixed together mash, and that starts at 7 p.m. on May 22nd. So guys, please go sign up and join us. We'll be shoutcasting. I'll be shoutcasting with VG Greg, Aster Edition Badger. We'll be shoutcasting. Chira's going to either play or he's going to.
I'm doing whatever they want me to do.
Well, you can go if you sign up, you can go play. Otherwise, you shoutcast.
Yeah, I'll do.
Just go gentle on me. Remember, I have MS, so when I fat finger flash, when I derp around,
When you get hooked 3 times.
What the hell's DeClaude doing? He's losing it for his team.
That's right. Big shout out to the
Syndra
stream
needs
monsters
throwing.
sitting out there and talking about us right now and saying we love you. We love you guys too. So that's the news for this week. We're going to roll into patch 4.7 discussion. I know I told Dom we weren't going to talk about Ferfal Flare and that until Wednesday because I want to make sure all the changes were there. We all could see them and talk about them. So we're going to get to that later on in this podcast. So with 4.7 comes Braum. We've already talked about him and our thoughts on him. We will get back to him when he actually releases. So don't expect much Braum discussion.
Just want to reiterate that I am very excited for this champion. I hope he comes out like Friday. Well, I suppose they pushed the patch back already a day, didn't they? So I hope he comes out Saturday, and then I can just
You can play with me all day.
Yeah, I got drinking to do Friday and Saturday night, so
do I, Dom.
No, it's a friend's birthday, so I won't be here at the night times, but I'll be hungover Saturday and Sunday during the day, and we can play then.
Well, good. Let's play. I'll be drunk. I'll day drink. And then we'll need to take a nap about 5 o'clock. Come back, 7:30, and then we'll play some more.
That second wind.
That's what happens when you day drink. If you start drinking at 10 o'clock, you have to take a nap by 5 o'clock.
Well, I mean, the young kids might not have to, but we've been damaging our livers for a long time now, Adam.
Yeah. Yes,
You laugh now, but when you're in your deathbeds with cirrhosis,
I will
With
do
fatty
hashtag
My favorite champion is Gangplank for a reason because make sure I don't ever get scurvy by eating a lot of oranges and drinking a lot of beer.
so there you have it, kids. If you're gonna drink like a fish, make sure you eat oranges so that
You don't get
it counters
scurvy.
it completely. It's amazing.
You like my strategy? Isn't it great?
I do.
I'm sweating my balls off. It is hotter than fuck. Anyway. This is going to be a shit show. I'm going to be stripped by the end of the fucking episode because it is hot. It's like 82 degrees.
He gives me
pull
shit
Greg.
for wearing a
Pull
shirt.
Greg, do the Hulk rip.
Wait, no, I don't have buttons.
Yeah, it's a nice shirt. I know that shirt.
All right, let's talk about Gragas. We spent enough time bullshitting. So Gragas is getting some changes here. Actually, let's fuck Gragas. Let's talk about Jarvan IV because the Gragas buffs are just they're not buffs.
It's not
they're just
like
fixes. They're bug fixes.
And we can touch it real quick here. Barrels now grant vision at the destination. Wow, good, great. Move on. Let's move on.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah, it's good. It
Yeah,
makes
it's
it
fine.
so-
It's a nice quality of life thing, but what else is there to talk about or to say
doesn't-
about it?
When he collides with a ward, doesn't that
No,
change
it's
or
when
something?
he presses W, it no longer
It
consumes
doesn't
it. But
eat
that's
his charge.
that's the same as everyone else.
Oh,
Like Sona,
yeah.
Sona's power cord and
Bug,
Nasus.
that's a bug fix. That's a real bug fix, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So all it is clarify things, and then the R has more range, 100 more
It
range.
has the
so.
same range. They just clarified it,
The
so
cast
so
indicators.
the actual range goes to where they wanted it before, so that it doesn't actually have more range.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a weird explanation.
Mechanically,
It's
it
just
does
like-
have more range, but it more clarifies because they reduce the size of the cast indicator. Okay.
Yeah, see, it's just
I
the
get it.
tooltip, I think. But I really want to talk about Jarvan IV because I know they're making these buffs for Jarvan and Malphite and other top laners to make them top laners, but I think these make these better mid laners than they do top laners at this point. Because
Malphite's always been pretty good in mid.
and so is Jarvan, to be honest with you. Jarvan is one of those characters you can play in mid like Pantheon that will carry you through bronze and silver if you learn the mechanics behind how to use him, because he doesn't have to be initiator.
Especially
I mean-
if they're playing a mid laner without an escape because they
We can
can't
cover
get
the
away from
changes,
you.
and then I'll cover my big problem with Jarvan that I always have.
Well, okay, so Martial Cadence is passive, now does 10% of the... It's 10% HP damage, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it doesn't actually say in the passive.
I'll check to make sure to see whether it's current or max. I think it's max.
It's
but-
max. That's just from playing a fuckload of Jarvan. It's max.
Yeah, it down does 10% of your max HP on your first auto attack.
Just frightening.
The cooldown got nerfed. It goes to 10.86. It used to be 6 at all levels, and that's fine because in a trade, you did get 2 off max, but that was an extended trade. Like you're chasing
No,
somebody
it's their
down.
current health.
Oh, okay. So
Is it?
Yeah. Drivers first attack on a target deals
Yeah,
percent of their current health
so
as
it
bonus
does more
physical
when you
damage.
when you start
When they're
hitting
full.
first.
Yeah. Okay.
And it caps at 400 damage because I guess if you get that 5,000 HP,
Yeah,
Well,
you're-
it used to. It used to
through a
cap.
Jarvan.
It used to cap because of like jungle minions too.
No, I know. I'm
But no, okay, look at this. I like that Martial Cadence buff, but I also like the Golden Aegis buff because W now is 30 mana at all ranks. That used to be a point sink. And you would
Right.
If you even put a point in it early.
Yeah, it was a complete total point sink because there was no reason to use it. It cost 45 mana at base rank and went to ranked up to 65 mana, and a combo costs 120 mana right now. And his mana pool allows him to do 2 combos plus 1 Golden Aegis before, and it still pretty much does because it's only 15 or Aegis. Sorry.
Thank you.
But 30 at all ranks allow you now can take it early as like your 3 1-point wonder. Because it does allow you have an extra slow, but you still don't have to take it on him if you're looking to do more damage and gain more armor.
I don't know. I mean, with that reduced cost at this point, I kind of feel like the extra effective HP you get just from the shield is very worthwhile in a trade.
Well, talking about Jarvan mid, Jarvan actually has fantastic wave clear, especially because if you're playing him in top lane, you were leveling E for the passive armor, but if you're playing mid, you're leveling Q for that additional wave clear and damage, because you can poke with Q through minions just like you can poke with E, and he can all in somebody with Ignite at level 2 and kill them thanks to Martial Cadence. All he needs to do is get 1 Martial Cadence off before level 2 and they're pretty much dead, unless they take barrier or heal or something, but you still have control of the lane.
And I agree with all of that. None of that is the issue. My issue with Jarvan is still how very, very good he is at screwing over his own team with that goddamn wall. I'm just like the number of times I played. Yeah, the number of times I played with that Jarvan. I'm Jarvan. I'm helping. And
feel fun is you have the Jarvan. You have that Jarvan do that, and then as the ally Trundle, you throw the pillar right in the middle of it.
Yeah, or the wall crossing through it or whatever.
Yep.
The best part about Dom talking about all this is I clearly remember playing a bunch of games with Dom where he's like, why isn't Jarvan Bander picked every fucking game? He has so many free stats, it's not fair, blah, blah, this.
Does he sidestep your wards with his weird terrain jumping? Is that why you don't like him?
There's a difference between a high gold, plat, diamond level Jarvan and twisted tree line Jarvan and bronze, silver, low gold Jarvan. There's a big difference in the quality of player there.
Right.
And, I was directing that criticism of Jarvan towards what I think is the bulk of our audience at this point. I would say, just given that the bulk of the player base is in bronze and silver, I would say that the bulk of our audience is also in that range. That's my big concern about Jarvan always. But yes, he has a shit ton of free stats, and it's ridiculous and frightening to me. But
you know what I find funny about Jarvan? Riot does a good job not allowing champions to troll their allies with their abilities. You know, they have that in mind when they're thinking the ability. Jarvan's the only one. You can sit there and you can trap your ally at an enemy turret, flash out, and run away and watch it die. You know,
that's not my favorite thing. Some of my favorite is EQ engaging R, and then flashing out and leaving them inside. Like not my allies, just the enemy, leaving them in my little cataclysm. Because that's a high level Jarvan play. Is like if you're near the turret and you get that little alleyway to the right or left, you can actually R somebody, flash out of it, or EQ out of it, and now they are stuck for an extra couple seconds down there, and you are allowed to run free. So there is some strategy you can.
Yeah, I like that. I like all that and everything. The problem is that when you get stuck, and you murder the target, and then instead of being able to do anything, you are stuck in there with Jarvan because he's not breaking that wall down.
Press R, press R, press R.
Yeah.
No, but Jarvan, okay, so these were specifically made for the top lane Jarvan, and he still can't fight Jax, and he still can't fight Shyvana, and he still can't fight Mundo.
Yeah, but Mundo's going away.
Or Tryndamere, or Kha'Zix, or he can fight Nasus.
Oh God, one of them.
Could he fight? You're sure
he doesn't have enough sustain.
You sure he can't fight Zach?
Nah,
he's a mana.
I mean, Zach just does the same thing. It's that same argument we go back with Jax and Nasus, where Zach eventually... Zach is great because once he hits 6 and he has his passive up, it doesn't matter what items he has. He can engage no matter what, and that's why he was great out of the jungle before. And he can still be played in the top lane in that same respect.
Jarvan's similar to
I was
Pantheon.
really just focusing on the HP side of things.
He's similar to Pantheon, where he's kind of mana-intensive and spell-intensive, and if you get the level 2 or 3 all in, maybe you can bank on that for an early kill and snowball, but he doesn't have enough sustain, and he really is mana-intensive, so it's tough.
You have to start Flask or whatever the hell it's called on him.
Yeah,
if he's in the top lane. Yeah. So I don't feel like these buffs are made. They help Jarvan out, but with Ferfal Flare still being in the game, he's not going to be a jungler. So the only place I can really see him fit is mid right now. And that's where I like to
I've
see
seen
him
a
play.
resurgence of that in the past week. I've seen a bunch of Jarvan mid just popping out of the woodwork. Why is that?
Same thing. Just people forgot about him. His passive does a ton of damage to low health
Did that
targets.
was it Man Cloud that used to play Jarvan mid?
The only person I remember playing Jarvan was Alabama. What's his name? Shit. Atlanta.
Atlanta. I was about to say Alabama.
No, there was it was either Man Cloud or Prolly, but I can't remember which one of them did it.
Right. Well, let's move on. We'll move on to Kassadin. So I was just so what's funny about Kassadin? Kassadin got a nerf, a giant nerf in this patch. Actually, I was just telling Don today that I think Kassadin is ban worthy 100% of the time because of the buff to his Q. They changed it so it was a 100% buff from, it went to 40 to 80. Now it goes 40 70. But it was really the ability power ratio. All you had to do was build a Rod of Ages and then go into blue buff with
And he was a monster.
Iceborne Gauntlet, and he was a monster. But they completely, and I think they reverted it. I'm pretty sure this is pretty much a revert because it was 0.3 ability power or 0.2 ability power before, right?
I will check.
It was 0.3.
Okay.
It was 0.3 before, I believe. So they reverted the ratio. I don't know about was it?
No, they didn't.
No,
revert
this is the
magic
ratio
shield.
on the shield. Yeah. Oh,
Right.
Not the damage. Okay, so
The damage is still pretty much
they
the
didn't revert
same.
anything.
They nerfed everything across the across the board of Q. The damage stays 40 at level 1, then it goes to 70 100. For example, what it is on live is 80 120. So
No.
nerf.
They definitely reverted the scaling.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did revert. They also revert to the base amount.
But
is
the thing
40,
is-
70 100? Was that the old one?
It was 40, 70, 100,
So they
130,
completely
160.
reverted it.
The
They just reverted
thing is, most people weren't even maxing his Q first, though. At least in Challenger, where he had the highest win rate out of any Challenger champion for like the past couple weeks, everybody was maxing E first anyway. So I don't know how.
Z and not W.
Yeah, they've been maxing E, W second, 1 point in Q early.
So what you're saying is this
So pretty
isn't
much what we called
addressing
before.
the
Yeah.
challenger success?
Well, I wouldn't even say that because Challenger success was using a completely different like leveling up of abilities, whereas this is just
Wait, they were maxing E first? That's,
yeah, they were maxing E first.
That's interesting.
Yep.
That's pretty much all I can say about that.
Yeah, I don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to talk about that. That's not what I would have thought to max first.
Right. I like it. I like they nerfed him in again because he was getting to the point it was pick or ban status again with
Yeah,
Kassadin
he's
with who
still a
played.
pain in the ass. Like, sure, he wouldn't blow you up with Q, but he'd blow you up with W.
Yeah. Oh, hey, now he has to use all of his spells to get the job done instead of just two of them.
Oh no.
So all right, so Kassadin they just reverted the change on Q, which changes him from pick or ban to it could be he's a viable champion, pretty much how you put it. He could be played, right?
Yeah, I would say so. And you could either level W or E first, but with the nerfs to Q, I don't know why you would level Q first now for sure.
We had talked about it a couple episodes ago where we even said don't level Q first. Put an early point in it because it doubles the amount of shield you get, and then start leveling either W or E. I think we said W, but
I mean, I W will work too. It depends on what you're rushing first and how the lane's going. If you need the extra farming power, you're going to want to use your E anyway. But
right.
it depends on how you want to play him.
So that's Kassadin there. Are we all in agreement? That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it. His shield's nerfed. That's it.
I think it's funny. So we saw Team 8 playing top lane Kha'Zix this last week at Lone Star Clash, and now these changes have come out for Kha'Zix where it kind of kills top lane. It doesn't kill top lane Kha'Zix, but it definitely hampers him quite a bit. And the big change that comes out of this is that Taste Their Fear. The turret is now considered an ally, so it cannot be isolated if he's standing under turret.
Makes sense. You're in the
It does. That was what I said. I'm like,
of your
well,
turret.
okay, that makes sense.
It does.
Right.
But it kills the all-in tower dives with Ignite if you have it.
Yeah, well, you could all in tower dive with Void Assault up, and they nerfed Void Assault, so now it's 2 seconds between casts instead of 1, which I think is a needed change.
Yeah, it gives you an extra second of vulnerability while you're running around instead of just instantly disappearing.
Whatever.
I like
It's still impossible.
they increase the range on the isolation too, so you can be 500 units away from your turret or ally instead of 350.
That I think is the unsung biggest change out of all of this. Like that's going to help out a lot more people.
Well, it makes sense they're changing all
No,
this
it does.
because Kha'Zix, as they said, they actually they pointed this out really well, and I'm glad Riot did this. They said that Kha'Zix was initiating fights, soaking up too much damage and soaking up too much and doing too much damage.
And still walking out of there.
Yeah, and still walking out of the fight. So changing Void Assault, like they had the patch before this, they changed Void Assault, so the turret damage is not negated by Void Assault. They changed that.
You just got to play him smarter now. That's
like overall, Kha'Zix as a champion really amuses me because no matter what they do, they can't quite get this champion right so that he's in a good balanced state. He's always just really, really troublesome to deal with.
We'll see how this goes.
I'm fine with that amuses me. To me, to agree, that's like, well, you guys did a really good job designing that champion, and now you got to work harder to get him in line.
I think what they said in the little preview that they did, I saw on Surrender 20 a while ago, was Kha'Zix, in like his lore, he's evolving with the changes and making it work. So,
There's
that's
been
a good point.
Reddit posts like change is good, Kha'Zix evolving to deal with shit. I love it.
It's true.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of these nerfs. I think they were needed, like you said.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it made sense to allow towers to be allies, so you couldn't be tower dove because he got an innate buff.
Well, I think the best change is the Void Assault thing because in my opinion, Kha'Zix is one of those champions, kind of like Jax, where you just kind of sit on the fringe and wait for the fight to start, and then come in and pick people off and obliterate whoever. Like once you get in the fight, you can do a lot of stuff, but you don't want to be the first person in. And I'm just playing solo queue recently. If somebody's picking Kha'Zix, they have no fear at all of jumping into a bunch of people. Like they jump in, whatever. If they have flash up, they just ult. They're not going to take that much damage, and they can flash out if they have to.
I mean, I'm amazed that you've even played against him. He's at a 77% ban rate. I honestly can't remember the last time I saw Kha'Zix because he's always banned.
Yeah,
we always ban him.
I don't ban him. We don't ever ban him now.
I
ban Ferfal Flare junglers in LeBlanc.
I honestly can't remember the
Pretty
last
much,
time
yeah.
I saw Kha'Zix because
I know
gets
R,
banned.
you get reduced damage while you're in your R, but I don't feel like it needs that additional buff to it. This might be an interesting topic because you're going invisible, so technically the only damage you can take when you're invis shots and
or AoE. Yeah.
So why do you have reduced damage when you're invisible when you can only take certain skill shots from it? Like they've stopped it from taking.
It's kind of weird, yeah.
Well,
I find the interesting thing too. You would have thought they would have made something like this happen when you could spam pink wards and shit,
Oh, okay.
Whereas like now you can't do that as much, and there's not oracles in the game or anything like that for the most part, unless you upgrade the sweeper trinket up all the way. It doesn't make.
I
Love
got to
the
agree. I
Super
think
trinket
that's
upgrade for Akali, Kha'Zix. I use
yeah.
it more than I would just
Any
banking
other
on it.
ones.
Oh, I got an oracles in my inventory.
which
But-
trinket. That's going to be a huge conversation.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's kind of funny that they added that after they removed oracles and the ability to spam pink wards and all that stuff, but it's really good on an already good ability.
Right. Well, that's
We'll see how it plays out now.
It's
He's got another
Kha'Zix.
second of vulnerability.
I don't think people will be picking Kha'Zix as much. I think it turns him into more of a mid lane champion again, kind of like Jarvan. But it can also, to be fair, he can stay in the top lane though because the lane is longer and it gives you more chances for having isolation damage than it does mid.
Well, I mean, it's still going to be good out of the jungle
so
too.
mid's almost just breaking wide open all of a sudden.
Right.
With champions that can come into it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I to a degree, I'm starting
Well,
to worry about just general burst mages and everything. I wonder if it's going to go.
It's going to change because of the changes to the towers, and maybe we should jump into that.
I mean, like
this
this almost hurts guys like Malzahar, who our boy DeClaude loves already. I mean, this almost hurts him just because what's he going to be able to do at a certain point in the game against these types of champions? He's just going to die.
Destroy them.
Well, let's talk about trinket. Let's talk about trinkets, dragons, and turrets right now because this is a good segue into that. So, trinkets now start at the game they have a 30-second cooldown, allowing you to use the trinket more quickly than you could before.
Yeah, I mean, right away. Holy shit.
Yeah. So it's bringing back that early,
Well, by 30
That's beyond.
seconds, you have
30
already
level
seconds,
one
you are-
fights.
Yeah.
You don't make it to a red buff usually until like a minute, maybe 45 seconds.
Wait,
Yep.
the enemy's red buff or your?
No,
oh.
your red buff. Like, most people don't actually make it down to their lane and stand around until, like, 45 seconds.
Except me, I'm the first one out of the gate.
Well, right.
Yeah, but you actually pay attention.
But you don't. But you use them because they're going to be gone before the minions get to the lanes anyway. They're gonna if you place them right away. Once you get there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then they got a forever cooldown. I have to redo everything now.
It's pretty good for the early level 1 fights and the invades and all that kind of stuff. But then it's gone.
About that. I hadn't even thought about that.
And they still only last 60 seconds.
Right, it's duration. So.
With a 3-minute cooldown. So.
Oh well, whatever. I mean, like I'm complaining, but at the same time, it's like
Just keep doing what you're doing, Dom.
No, yeah, but like that's just it. My opponent is going to be similarly hamstrung on the vision front. It's not like it makes my life. It does make my life more difficult, but it doesn't make my opponent's life easier.
Well, you already buy an extra ward anyway, so now you're
I
even
think
more
I'm gonna
ahead.
have.
Why are you complaining?
I've been buying potions lately, but now I'm going to be buying those wards again. And yeah, it's gonna delay invades or some shit like that. But whatever, I still throw the.
It's not gonna delay invades like it was in the past. It's gonna definitely help invades because now you can step ward. Because it's still the same thing we're going back to Season 2 where everybody could start with the same number of wards. The enemy could start with 5 wards and step ward and protect. But if teams are fast out the gate, and warding before the enemy gets there, which can entirely possible, like you just said, I'm fast out the gate. I'm at red before you guys are even in lane. That the enemy now can run up there and start with step warding.
The little blitz trolling can be a little bit better as blitz. Throw your little ward out there.
All I was getting at is it's also going to open up opportunity. Like if you assume the general player base is just going to be throwing wards as soon as they're available in some kind of defensive posturing or something like that, you can just wait.
Sure.
And then delay your invade because
until 150 when all the wards are dead.
Yeah, then you still get to run in and you're going to be caught unawares. Now, again, a guy like me, that doesn't really matter. Doesn't change shit, but
right. Well,
we all can't be you, Dom.
So we had talked about this in the past.
I keep telling people to do it. I keep saying, just go drop the ward on red buff. You're going to get kills because of it.
Do it. No. I want to clarify that. Don't do that in solo. I mean, you can. Don't not do it in solo queue, but also don't do it in solo queue because the likelihood of them invading in solo queue is pretty low. To go get a red buff.
It depends on their jungler.
It's lower than it is in teams. Like we played teams the other night, and it was 3 times.
I absolutely look at. I mean, if we're running into, if I'm going up against a Mumu, I'm not going to go drop it on our red buff. He's not going to go over. He's not going to be there.
Yeah, this guy. If you didn't play in early season 3, this is all going back to exactly how season 3 was, where you have the advantage if you defend and you have the advantage if you're invading. It just depends who gets there more quickly and who is more organized than the other team.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying just a minute ago, when we played teams, every game they invaded our red buff, and every time we collapsed on them,
right?
Because we knew they were there, and they were like, "What? How do they know?" It's like,
right, because we got the Dom ward.
Well, let's talk about turrets. So turrets right now, the bottom lane now has fortification. And it takes 30 less damage with every auto attack from 20. So there's a little bit more fortification added to the top and bottom turret.
Stronger, but it lasts 7 minutes instead of 8 minutes. So
right. So stronger.
You get an extra minute.
I'm going to clarify. They're adding that fortification to the bottom lane turret that was already in mid and top lane.
But they're adjusting everyone.
No, mid.
It was already in top lane. It was not mid.
Yeah, mid doesn't have.
But all of them are
mid.
No.
Nope.
Mid has never had fortification.
My mistake.
All of them are getting the extra 10 damage reduction.
Only the top and bottom. Mid is not having the extra 10 added. All outer turrets now have fortification.
And we come full
Yeah,
circle
that means-
to
that
the
means-
3-man mid thing again.
That means the outer.
The two
No,
outsides.
that means the furthest turret out. That's
Is
an outer
that what
turret
they're
is.
saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
The mid
Well,
turret.
no, it says specifically added to bottom lane. It does not specifically say added to mid lane.
That's because I think mid lane always had it.
Right.
I don't think it does.
I'll check.
I never
check,
thought
'cause I
it
think
did
it
either.
does.
This could be.
This is a quicker argument to resolve than the Jax one. It's not
keep
opinionated.
going.
It's,
Okay, so here's the funny thing about this.
Play.
It does not kill 2v1s by any means. It just means you have to be more organized when you do it. And it means that you are on even trading ground if you decide to if the enemy decides to initiate the 2v1, you are on even trading ground at that point, where you have the potential of taking the bottom lane at the same rate that they do, or just after they do. So there will still be 2v1s. 2v1s will now be more calculated.
Top and middle lane outer turrets have 20 damage reduction from basic
so
attack
bottom,
for the
so
first
every
8 minutes.
turret has it now.
Okay.
Yeah, I was right.
Sorry, I thought the mid didn't have it.
You're the
Say it with
greatest, Dom.
conviction, Dom.
Yes, thank you. That's what I was going for.
I'm sweating
So-
my balls off. Oh my god.
So pretty much they added that fortification to bottom turret, and they made it a little bit better, but it doesn't last as long. Done deal.
Right. It doesn't.
What's gonna? I mean, what I think we're gonna see less of is the buddy lane,
The 4-man split push.
or the buddy system.
Right. We will see it. Here's the great thing about this, and we said this before. I'm going to go back
Well,
right now
also
and
the
say
wards
no.
the wards are really what's gonna stop that.
Yeah, how many times did I call that over the last
Yeah.
8 episodes? But no, I'm going to go back to when we were talking about it when they made this first change. The entire podcast here said this change does not matter for the game. Like, yes, it changes it somewhat for professional play, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't change anything.
Not
And
that big
people
a deal.
were bitching and screaming and yelling on Reddit about it, and every
was
single one of
bad.
us sat here.
And they said-
I'm tooting my own horn right now. I get it. Sorry, guys. But, like, now that they're adding it to this bottom lane, it makes it more strategically acceptable to do 2v1s.
So I mean, and even at pro play, they stopped doing it for a week, and then they kept doing 2v1s or something. It slowed it down for a minute, and then they were just like, "Well,
It
doesn't change that
scared
much."
people out of doing it for a very short amount of time.
Then they probably forgot that the change happened, and then they just started going back to that strategy. Said, "Oh, hey, look, it still works."
Well, we definitely saw the people who initiated top lane and did not get the advantage in top lane lost turrets more quickly than the bottom lane did. There was definitely times where people initiated the top lane and only got the first turret while both their bottom turrets fell because their 4v1 lost.
What happened to the dragon?
Well, the dragon now is worth more gold, which is good because 100. There was a post on Reddit today, and this is in the same vein where First Blood doesn't even grant boots anymore. First Blood grants 150, 200 gold.
Yeah, you can't even buy boots.
You can get a pot or two.
Yeah, you can't get anything for it. So what's the point of invading and going First Blood? Now when you're invading, you're not going for those kills, you're going for buffs.
Right.
And you're trying to deny the enemy.
Which
But-
helps hurt a Ferfal Flare jungler on the enemy team too, so...
Right.
Well,
And
setting them back above hurts no matter what jungler you are.
We'll get to
Oh, yeah.
Ferfal Flare in a quick second, but this dragon, I
didn't-
like that dragon is worth more gold now because it allows the team that is playing that 2v1 or 4v1 to potentially set up for an early dragon that gives that little extra gold. And we've always said that little bit of extra gold is the make or break point, and I think that this 15 extra gold is that point with the dragon.
I agree. I can't. Let's just drop the mic.
Yeah.
Accurate. We didn't talk about Malphite. You kind of skipped that when we were talking.
I
champion.
skipped that on purpose because
Really? I think that seems kind of like a bigger deal to me,
The
especially
the
because
brutal
turrets-
strike
I think
seems
the turrets and
significant.
the
The brutal
trinkets are
strikes
bigger.
is big.
No,
just 'cause
a
it gets
bigger deal than
ton
you're
of free
making it out
damage.
to be. Bigger deal than you're making it out to be, and especially because you were talking about how him as a mid laner, to start the podcast off, you mentioned him and Jarvan.
Right. I gotta
He's
scroll up here.
his brutal strikes change is actually pretty freaking
Yeah,
huge.
that's huge.
But
Yeah.
the funny thing about Brutal Strikes, a lot of people didn't max Brutal Strikes or even put a point in it because Brutal Strikes is the one that pushes the lane and does the AoE damage. So a lot of people did not put the extra point into it because they didn't want to innately push the lane.
But you're fighting a Renekton who's pushing the lane with his Q.
You need
You're getting
some way to
bullied and
equalize
pushed to the
it.
turret. He's roaming.
I get why you would
Now you're
take it,
countering
but
that
a
a
lot
little
of
bit.
people
Even
don't.
a lot of champions just have difficulty farming under the tower.
He becomes a bully more.
This
and-
makes it even harder. Honestly, Brutal Strikes makes it harder to farm under a tower. if
No,
you
no,
start
not
farming
him.
under it.
Go the other way though.
Yeah, well, I mean, he still has a hard time under the tower. No matter what you
Pushing it to the tower though. Is
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
getting at.
he does.
Oh no, he can push the tower, but that doesn't take away from a lot of the weaknesses he had in lane anyway against the people like Renekton who could do a ton of damage to him, usually out trade him, and push the lane at the same time.
All of these changes, honestly, in my opinion, don't make a big deal with Malphite in the top lane. He's still going to get bullied out by a lot of
again,
those champions.
You specifically brought up Malphite in the mid lane
Sure.
at the start. That's what I think we should talk about then.
So he can push faster and roam more and try and make plays happen with his ult. That's what you want.
See, the thing I have with
That's what you
Malphite in
want.
mid lane compared
I'm
to
just
Jarvan,
saying.
No. The thing I have with Malphite in the mid lane compared to Jarvan is, yes, that makes him a better mid laner. Yes, it can potentially makes him a better top laner, but he does not have the kill potential of somebody like Jarvan or Nocturne. I'm using Nocturne because I play Nocturne in the mid lane, and he doesn't have the kill potential as those same two champions that have high AD and high early damage. Excuse me. Malphite doesn't kill somebody until level 6.
He doesn't have the solo kill potential, but junglers, by and large, have some type of tool that helps them, gank pretty effectively, and then having that additional slow that Malphite's capable of quickly tossing out there. I'm like, in the mid lane, I like his potential there. I agree, top lane, he's good. It's just going to be sort of like, yeah, let him push me to my tower, and then I'll do my thing, and then get pushed back to the tower, and then I'll do my thing, and I'll get pushed back to the tower. Oh, now I'm 6. Now it's ganking time. Now it's murder time. But
I have teleport. Let's go bot lane.
I think it's a different story in mid lane.
So the active on it increases armor and attack damage. It doesn't increase magic resist, and a lot of the mid laners are magic heavy. So
who cares? He gets a bunch of free HP, and that recharges real fast.
It's not really that much HP unless he's building HP.
For champions that have to expend spells to deal damage to you, getting that free
effective HP.
That free effective HP every 10 seconds is a much bigger deal. For someone like Renekton, who is like cooldown gated, but he's also going to deal a lot of auto attack damage, or Jax or whoever, they don't give a fuck. They're just going to beat that thing down and then just keep beating, like it doesn't matter. But for champions that have to deal have to use spells to deal damage because their auto attacks aren't doing shit, that's a much bigger deal in mid lane.
The passive is a much bigger deal in mid lane. The brutal strikes is not. I'll agree with passive being right, but brutal strikes has almost no change to how mid lane plays out, because it gives him, it allows him to push a little bit harder, but it's really the W. When you press W for 6 seconds, Malphite increases his armor and attack damage by a percentage. What do you do with that in mid lane? Nothing.
Unless you're against
run
or
at
the Kha'Zix or the Jarvan.
Or Talon.
Yeah, sure.
Or a
Ziggs.
Kha'Zix.
Or Ziggs who's pushing your lane. You're helping push it back.
Yeah, that's why I kind of glanced over him. Like, the passive is great. That's a good buff. That's like a quality of life buff for the champions that have been out now and the champions the way they're being played. But W brutal strikes, not really that big of a buff.
I
don't
like it for the top lane. I think we're going to see him in the top lane more.
You can say it's not that big of a buff, and it's kind of not, but at the same time, for quality of life thing, just the fact that it costs half as much mana, you can actually use it now early and not really care.
Right.
When I was countered,
I can use an ability.
Whenever I'm countered as an AD champion in the top lane with a Malphite, thinking, oh, I got the armor and the shield, blah, 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 I'd run him out of mana. I'd just pay attention to his mana bar, let him do his thing, try to dodge the brutal strikes if I can, because it's kind of a short PBA AoE, and go in once he's low on mana, then all in him and kill him. So now I got to wait a lot longer for him to run out of mana, because
I'm not going to be able to do that.
Big part of that.
He's going to regen that quick enough.
Yeah.
25, that's nothing.
That's nothing.
Well, let's talk. We had this discussion moving into this point. Let's do it now. Let's talk Ferfal Flare.
Oh, here it
is. The Ferfal Flare line has been changed, and I'm going to come out on the record right now before I read it and say I like these changes, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. So Madrid's Razor now has reduced damage. It's now 50 damage against monsters rather than 60. Fine and dandy. Wriggle's Lantern, though, the big buff here with Wriggle's Lantern, kills and assists now count toward transforming into Ferfal Flare. However, the damage toward minions has been reduced by 15 or 25 damage. It is now 75 rather than 100. Once you upgrade to Ferfal Flare, the total attack damage you gain is 12. The attack speed is 30%. That is down from 35 and 15. The big change to Ferfal Flare is now that the heal does not scale with the number of stacks that you get. It used to scale, and you used to gain more per auto attack. So everyone's going to look at right now, and they're going to look at Wriggle's Lantern allowing kills and assists that count towards Ferfal Flare. And I'm saying this isn't that large of a deal, because I think that the junglers that were using this before needed the opportunity to gank. Yes, they become more powerful.
It isn't that they need the opportunity; it's that they needed the incentive to gain.
Incentive's a better word for it.
And that's right. What it. This change encourages that and everything, and like from a player fidelity standpoint, I think it makes sense, because they like we said last podcast, you got into so many games where people just be like, nope, I'm just going to farm my Ferfal Flare. And that wasn't really the smart strategy, because your lanes basically fell behind because of that. So now you're no longer incentivized to just sit in your own jungle and everything. This
Keep in mind, you have to build it into Wriggles before the kills and assists.
Stat,
Build towards
right.
it.
And I was going to get to that point too. That is a lot of money to invest in an item to gain
gotta rush
kills
it.
and assists, because a lot of people would only get, a lot of junglers would only get Madrid's Razor. And I'm saying this for a fact because I've been playing more jungle and I've been talking to Wrecker more recently. They would sit on Madrid's Razor for a lot longer just because it gained it out of the jungle, and you didn't get that much when you transferred it to Wriggle's Lantern. And it's a lot of money. It's what is it? Long sword and dagger to transfer it.
Man, then y'all are undervaluing wards.
It goes from
Dump
just having a
motherfuckers.
machete
Yeah.
to spending 1650 to finish out of Wriggles without the Madrids.
Right. And
I don't know.
that's
I honestly, I think the damage reduction on Madreds is going to be the reason why people try to get it to Wriggles quicker.
You have to now because of the kills
Yeah,
and assists.
I mean,
It's the kills and
Well,
assists too.
that too, but like it's no longer going to be. It's you gotta update it quickly.
Well,
don't
and here's
know.
the thing too. I really don't think this hurts that many junglers for the most part anyway, just because a lot of the junglers that are building this item regardless have pretty fast clear. The person I would say this probably hurts the most is champions like Warwick, who they don't have all the AoE clear. They really need the Ferfal Flare to like once they get the Ferfal Flare, it completely changes from
No,
before they had
Funky
it.
clear to
the
yeah.
champions this hurts most are the champions who are not building Ferfal Flare. That's who still gets most affected by this and everything. Because Ferfal Flare junglers basically just became better because now there's not even there's not lower
Exactly.
or reduced risk of
No,
being
they
ganked.
didn't become better because there's no longer scaling healing. People like Master Yi are no longer as big of a threat as they were before because they're not gaining
sure,
so
but
much
that's-
life back per
and-
auto attack.
and they're not-
Xin Zhao, who has
they're not
innate healing,
nearly-
is no longer getting more.
They're
than
not
they
going to clear like lightning fast like they
No,
currently are either.
It's not a clear standpoint. It was now they are incentivized to gank. Whereas
Right.
before, you could pick a jungler that wasn't getting Ferfal Flare and focus on ganking all the lanes.
No, you're not incentivized. It helps you to gank now. Like you can leave the jungle to do it, but it's still more advantageous for you to clear the jungle and get the Ferfal Flare than it is to gank. However, if you do decide to gank, or you do decide that you need to help the lanes out, you are not being punished for not
That's
farming.
exactly it. It's a
You don't feel like you're
punishment
wasting
thing.
your time.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but
Because
that-
you're at
but-
least getting
but
something
that's-
towards it.
Not being punished. If before you were being punished by ganking, now you are incentivized. Like now
Yeah,
you
but you're
have that
taking,
incentive to do
if
that.
you're being
But
punished for ganking, you're taking away what the jungle role is meant to do.
And you also have to
that's-
keep in mind that not every gank is going to succeed anyway.
I'm
You're going to
not-
have a
saying junglers shouldn't be ganking. I'm saying that the junglers who don't have Ferfal Flare are the ones who are behind, who don't want to build Ferfal Flare, are the ones who fall behind because of this change. Because before, there was this idea that you should, like, if you were going a Spirit Stone item, you had more incentive to gank and everything because you didn't have as much to lose.
Yes and no. Yes, to your point where you didn't have as much to lose, but you have to continue up with those stacks that are now gained on those spirit items because, like Chira said last episode, you gain more money over the course of the game if you're maximizing the stacks on those items. So you
Conservation
are
stacks.
still incentivized to grab your buffs and grab little minion camps.
Yeah,
Because you're
I
using
agree
extra
too.
money.
If you have the spirit items, you usually have more kill potential when you go to gank than you would if you had a Wriggles. You know,
I
Like, it-
agree. I agree
Right,
with what Dom's
right.
saying because with now that kills and assists help towards it, the main counter for when you're playing against Ferfal Flare junglers as the spirit item jungler, you can take one of their camps, counter jungle a Wraith real quick or large golem, and you're kind of crippling them because now they got to wait for that to spawn after they discover it and kill the little minions so that I can respawn and work towards their stacks. You're kind of crippling them there. You can't cripple them as much
And their
now
slow is
because they
gonna
get
be-
kills and
now,
assists.
now,
There's nothing you can do about it except
they're
for
going to
counter
just
their
go
kills.
gank and because they can get something out of
Right.
that, or at least try to
So
get something out of that.
it is a little bit. It's more advantageous for the Ferfal Flare jungler.
But now you
because
can
of-
also count on that happening, and this allows more counterplay because if you are counter juggling, you're going to assume the person is going to be ganking more often because they can't get the item. They can't.
So you
get
can
the stacks
counter
in the
gank
jungle.
as well.
So you can counter
I-
gank,
I
or
would-
you be
I would
prepared
rather-
for the gank. Like
I would
think
rather
this
go
opens
into
it
a
up to
2v2
more.
with a jungler that had a spirit item early against a jungler that had a Madreds or a Wriggles. I like the thing is
You would
I
rather
still
what? Like we had too many people talking. You said you would rather, and then I heard
here's the
everything
thing.
else.
So you go into counter jungle, say you take their wraiths, they have to clear the little ones, and they immediately go to gank. If you're the person with the spirit item and you know that they're clearing the little minions that they're clearing and they're going to go gank, and you go to counter gank, I would still put my money on the guy having the spirit item to go fuck up the guys 2v2 in lane, because a Madreds doesn't really do anything to an extra person.
Sure,
Like-
but the point is still that like the longer the game goes on, the more it swings in favor of the guy with the Feral Flare. Irrespective of the healing reduction, they still get all the healing loss. They still get all of the extra damage
yes
from
and
it.
no.
Say that,
though.
but if you're getting those kills anyway, if like say you get that the spirit item guy wins the 2v2, you kill the Feral Flare jungler, what is stopping that guy from immediately going in and taking the rest of those camps, putting that Feral Flare jungler even more behind than he could have been before? And then what? The longer the game goes in, he gets close to the 30 stacks that he finally needs, and he gets it around 32 minutes.
If the game is going that long, though, where your counter jungling did not affect the game to allow you to have an advantage to swing it in your favor, you're doing something wrong. Like, if you have counter jungled the fuck out of a Feral Flare jungler at this point, and he can't get successful ganks off because your lanes are winning, and you can't finish the game at 35 minutes, and now the Feral Flare jungler is back in this game, you have obviously done something wrong at some point in this game and given him the advantage back.
We're not talking about falling behind, though. Like, to Dom's point, the Feral Flare jungler will be in the lanes more ganking. It's back to, okay, I can gank. I can be a jungler. I can be a jungler and gank the lanes and influence their success.
I'm okay with that. My point is still that I don't think the other items hold up to Feral Flare. That's really where I stand on this.
I think they hold up better than they were prior to this point.
I don't know. I think with this change, I would be more incentivized to pick up a Feral Flare than to play a Feral Flare jungler than not to, because that third.
Like I think Xin Zhao is
had to
crazy
stay
now
herb before it's just
He's
against.
not as crazy as he was, though, because he's not getting the heal anymore. That's the problem.
You are getting the heal. It's just
no,
not
you're
scaling.
right.
You get some heal.
That was
It
what
still have the heal, but it doesn't scale with the Feral Flare stacks themselves. So, that's sure that was
I
what
think
made
you're
it kind of
discrediting
scary.
the amount of healing you were getting per stack with an auto attack jungler. If you're gaining one or two lifesteal per stack.
I'm not discrediting that. What I'm saying is that now Xin Zhao was already good at ganking.
Right.
Sure.
You're saying
What
that
I'm
now
saying
he's going to
is
spend
now
less
he's
time in the
better.
jungle.
Yeah, because you don't have to worry about him spending time in jungle to try and get Feral Flare up, because now he's just going to show up and murder someone.
So here's the thing: is that a problem? Is that really a problem that people like people like Xin Zhao, Nocturne, Vi, Udyr, etc. can now play the game at a competitive level?
Or even is this a problem? Like how? It's not as if every time somebody like this goes to gank, it's 100% chance for them to get a kill. If they go to gank and they don't get anything,
100%
that goes the same for the Spirit Stone jungler that you're saying is going to get the kill and clear the jungles. That's not going to happen.
I'm not saying that either.
Even like
that was your scenario before.
No, my scenario.
Hold on. Let Dom talk.
A gank that doesn't result in a kill isn't necessarily a failed gank. Yeah, you don't get that stack, but it still affects the dynamic of the lane.
And
now,
that's
before when you were facing Feral Flare junglers, you knew they weren't going to rely on them not going into lanes because they wanted to get that item and everything. And so the counter, in theory, was either to ward the shit out of their jungle and catch them unawares, or for your jungler to spend all of his or her time ganking all of the lanes because you knew their jungler wasn't going to have any presence.
And if he did, he would be crippling himself.
Because the other jungler is going to be doing that. And that's fine. I think junglers should be willing to gank. The point is that I don't know. I just don't feel like the other items hold up to that. I think it's the other junglers who end up suffering because this item, again...
I don't because of the passive on the spirit items that allow you to gain gold. And with Cheer, I'm going with Shira here. I'm going to decide. Even if you're ganking with either item, it's not advantageous to you because you don't get a kill, the person with the Spirit Stone makes more out of that gank because they're able to go back in the lane and use their stacks at that point that they gained while they were spending that 20-30 seconds ganking and get more gold for
They don't lose anything for going
they don't
to
really
the
lose
gank
anything at this point.
Because their cultivation is still building up.
You're right. The spirit items are more of a comfort pick. The Feral Flare is more of a risk pick because you're relying on the kills and assists, and
the thing is,
you have to. But
to me, it's
later
low
in the game,
risk, high reward.
But
that's the type of item it is.
It is high reward. If you are getting kills,
high reward, and that's the ideal type of item you want.
If you're getting kills then you're going to be able to freely pick up your mobs as well, your monsters, your big monsters to farm towards it. You're going to get your Ferfal Flare quicker with this patch than you were going to in the past. Sure, you're not going to heal as much when you're sitting there auto-attacking the enemy, but you're going to snowball a little bit better. You're going to be more of a threat earlier in the game. Maybe not as powerful later as before if you were getting your 30 stacks anyway. This will get you to your stacks, which was the huge deterrent for me, was how long it takes to get those friggin' stacks that you got to sit in the jungle and not help you.
You're like,
stacks to God, they need help.
If you're getting 30 stacks still
now.
takes you 25 minutes to get.
Well, how many kills did junglers usually get anyway? It's not like he's gonna like before. How is the jungler gonna be a part of 15 plus kills before the 20-minute mark anyway? Like you have to go. I understand your guys' argument with the whole Ferfal Flare thing. I just feel that the spirit items are way better until a Ferfal Flare jungler can get it. And if anything, a spirit item jungler is going to have an easier time keeping a Ferfal Flare jungler from getting it, from finishing the Ferfal Flare if they know how to jungle. That being said, if you have people like Xin Zhao who can tilt a lane and just go and camp the shit out of somebody and farm them because the laner is pissed off or not paying attention or whatever, yeah, this could be a nightmare against people who are bad and they don't know what they're doing. But I think this just brings it slightly more in line with the other jungler items.
I think that's an over-assuming statement to say it's a nightmare for people who are bad and don't know what they're doing, because you can still hugely affect the game by asserting asserting pressure on the lanes and everything, like junglers were doing before Ferfal Flare came out, and that changed everything. And that was fine because now there were two different ways to play the game and everything, and now it's sort of, well, now it's back to sort of this one way of doing things, except you have basically a timer on the Ferfal Flare jungler, and you don't have that timer on the Spirit Stone jungler.
Which is more of a peace of mind thing. And I kind of agree with Chira's statement that it brings it more in line with the other jungle items.
I love that Claude here has been playing like Arbiter right
now. He's like, he likes parts of both things.
That's the thing. I think Dom's a little extreme saying that the Spirit Stone junglers are punished by this change. I don't really
I just said,
look at it indirectly. I guess you think because Ferfal Flare is slightly better, you can get it a little bit faster.
I keep wondering why they keep looking at that item. They're so worried about that item and not
why not they're
all
bringing
the other
up
things.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go back to this and let's try not to argue it. I know we probably will, but like I like the fact that Wriggle's Lantern now gives kills and assists. Again, going back to the point, now you don't have to spend all your time in the jungle. Now you can gank. That is a good change. Now that they've made this change, I do think they need to go look at the spirit items and try to bring those in line with this.
The thing is too, I think they could do a couple minor tweaks. You could give back Spirit of the Ancient Golem a little bit of CDR, a huge amount that it had before. Mm-hmm. You could even add like a little bit more damage to Elder Lizard, or a little bit more AP, or sustained the Spectral Wraith, whatever you want to do. Just a little nudge to, if you still think Ferfal Flare's stronger than the others, to like keep it in line, or even go back to what the old passive was on a lot of the spirit items, where if you got the killer like if you got an assist and you didn't get the kill, you still got like an increased amount of money for being a part of it, or anything like that.
Right.
I don't really, again, I don't see this being that big of an issue for the most part, other than this is going to slow the clear down of all the junglers that uses it.
I'm actually less worried about this item because it's overall slows down the clear. That was when I was talking on Monday about how worried I was about the changes they were making, I had not seen the notes about the reduction on the main passive.
So I'm glad that we didn't talk about it.
Well, we would have. I mean, we still would have had the conversation we just had. We wouldn't have gotten to this point. We wouldn't have gotten to this point.
But like,
is that a Superman shirt underneath?
No, depression. I just, again, I see this affecting people like Warwick more than like even Yi too. A little.
I think we've talked about it into the ground. We literally spent 20 minutes on this and
fought about it and loved each other, and
that's the best part about this podcast is we can argue for 20 minutes that we're best friends. So,
if people think we are angry at each other thing like this, then I don't know what to say. You've never been in a bar room argument or anything, but this is like, I feed on this shit.
Yeah,
I love this.
This is the point in the argument
Sometimes
where I
I
would
think
say,
Dom-
bartender, another round. Let's
Dom
go.
instigates. I think Dom, maybe he agrees more with us than he's saying he does, like with Sean and Pone. And he's like pushing a little of an extreme just to bring up a little bit
So
of
he's
an
just an
argument.
asshole. I'm okay with that.
I do tend to argue for the sake of arguing.
You're like Wrecker in that fact. Wrecker would argue like this a long time ago with the longsword pot shit.
Have you ever noticed how anytime we're in games, I almost always back up Wrecker just because I want to see the two of you fight about something?
I will say I've never seen two people fight more than Adam and Wrecker.
We are the cutest couple ever. I love Wrecker to death. Like
I feed off this. I love it. I mean, it's so
Wrecker and I. That's the if anybody out there, you guys have to. If you don't have a best friend like this entire podcast, I consider you all like some of my best friends. It's the same thing. Like if you cannot argue with your best friend to the point where you're at each other's throats and then
But you're
back
cool
off
afterwards?
2
Yeah.
minutes later. You don't have a good friend, in my opinion.
you need to find that person in your life. Like it's this weirdly, like almost primal, fulfilling experience and everything, or maybe not primal, but like intellectually fulfilling.
Do you remember that? Do you remember the argument between Renekton and Cho'Gath where I was at Declawd's throat at
Yeah,
the end of the
you
night?
were so angry.
I will say I thought
That
this
was
was
the
kind of
first one.
funny after our argument about Jackson Nasus, and then you and I are teaming up against this. This is
I know, we
Zach
always
brought that up the other
teammates.
week.
we have changed allegiances every single time we've had arguments or something. It's because I know I have been on the side of all three of you at this point. It's not like
Well,
Which is good. Got to change it up.
I'm just gonna cover over some of the small changes this patch before we end because we are at the hour point. But
I kind of want to cover the new trinket in Crystal Scar.
Go ahead, I
Just
was getting
to touch
there.
on it.
that's
So.
what I was gonna bring up next. So go ahead,
All
Declawd.
right, nice. All right, yeah. Well, there's a trinket now that you can use in Crystal Scar. Soul Anchor. It's I'm just going to read it here verbatim here. Pretty much because Revive is such a dominant summoner spell, they realize they could take advantage of the unused trinket slot, create a more diversity, also balancing the case. So +1 at levels 1, 9, and 14, it has charges. It caps at 2 charges. It grants a short burst of movement speed on Revive,
which is
So-
what 5 does anyway now.
with even more.
Yeah,
so,
it's revive.
right.
It's 2 charge. You know what I like about this? It's 2 charges of revive. I think that changes up to minion. I think that.
No, it's up to
decisively
3.
changes to
It's
minion.
it's 3 charges total in a game.
Oh,
It's 3
okay.
charges per game. If you use your level 1 your level 1 charge right away, or once you reach level 9, you have to use your charge before you hit level 14.
That's big though because you maybe got 2 charges a game.
You usually got 2. It was rare to get.
I guess I played bottom. Bottom lane, you only got
Yeah,
1.
yeah. Bottom lane would only get the 1. Would usually only get 1, and then top lane, like it sort of depend on if people remembered to use it for that early fight or knew they could use it to swing a fight. I think this actually, like, Feedski wasn't that excited about this item when we
don't
talked
know how you can't
to him
be.
about it, and I'm like, this really opens up that mode and it makes things much, much more interesting. I don't think it changes like the champion viability.
Its charge cap is 2. Level 14 charge will disappear if unstorable.
Yeah.
So it's 3. If you use it again, you get one at 14.
That's what I
okay,
said.
yeah. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
You did say that. Yeah. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't think it changes. Like it might, but I don't think it's going to affect the way champions end up being used. But then again, there's a lot of fallout from the way summoner spells will get handled now. Because I gotta assume they're just going to remove the revive summoner. It doesn't
Why,
say
so
that
you
in
can't
there, but
revive 5 times?
basically,
They didn't say they disabled the revive summoner, did they?
No.
But it seems like that's
Maybe
what
they
you
want
do.
to see what happens. People won't be wanting to take it as much. I'd still take it just for the extra revives, but
Yeah, I mean, to be on the map that much, like,
unless they share
You
a
kill me,
global
who gives a
cooldown.
fuck? You're this damn good
as I am, you never die that often. So
yeah, to be like to pick a champion to play
That's
Shen
it.
and then die, and then you could just teleport right back to the or Pantheon. It's like, oh, yeah, you killed me, but that was a mistake because I'm back at full health, and you're hurt more.
Right. So yeah, that's changed. We'll have Feedski on again in probably 3 weeks. I'll say 3 weeks. We'll try to have Feedski on again. Give him 3 weeks to play with the new trinket and patch, and we'll bring him on for like a 30-minute episode. I'll talk. I got actually something to talk to you guys after the podcast, but Anything else we want to talk about in this patch?
Yes. The heal, summoner heal.
Oh,
It doesn't cleanse grievous wounds now.
I
They
just
removed
think that, like, I don't really think that it spends a lot of time to talk. I think across the board, everyone can say that is exactly what this needed. Right
I
now,
don't know.
it
That's
doesn't.
what it was pretty much. It only heals one other person,
Well, and the movement speed. It still has the movement speed.
and which is nice.
have you seen all
It's gotten me out of trouble.
the uproar
heals a
people
lot
have
more.
about saying that they should add the movement speed to cleanse?
I think they
instead
need to
of heal?
leave the Grievous Runes removal on heal and then move the movement speed to cleanse. Because
I
at that
think
point,
that's
you now
great.
have
That's good.
3 different abilities you can choose.
That would
in
be
AD carry.
awesome.
Right.
Be great for all of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I honestly, to me, this affects Mundo more than it affects anybody else.
I can see
Like,
that.
Mundo had fallen.
Well, this makes it
Honestly,
now so you
Mundo
can
had-
actually run Ignite in the bottom lane if you want to go for an early kill, though. Before.
Sure, but that's just on your support. I don't think your marksman's gonna run it. Your marksman's
No.
still gonna,
No. Your marksman's still going to run heal, but it allows you to run Ignite in the bottom lane if you think you can get that early kill, because before it wasn't advantageous to run Ignite because it would automatically get removed.
Yeah, that's fine. That's an okay change and everything. But like, remember, Mundo had basically fallen out of favor unless you were TSM. And then the heal changes happened, and all of a sudden everybody started playing Mundo again because, hey, now I don't have to worry about Ignite anymore. Who gives a fuck?
Right.
So I think that he's the only champion really affected by this. I guess Vlad technically, but who was playing him?
Nobody,
Sean.
because his E is bugged.
Yeah, his W was bugged, kinda. His E was bugged.
He was the blood
He's
man.
the blood man. You gotta give him to the blood,
Blood
man.
man.
He'll bleed all over you.
Fault that one up to you.
You're the blood man?
No,
I think that's pretty
something
much
about,
the important
something-
stuff in the patch.
something about Kazakh's bugs. There was something in there.
Yeah, I don't care about puns. So, guys, I think that actually ends
I
this
appreciate
podcast.
it,
What do you think? Sorry that I took my shirt off in the middle of that. I'm dying over here. My door is closed.
Adam
and I'm
gives
just
me shit
crying.
for wearing a
You had-
t-shirt.
You at least have it opened up. I've had
You
it
know what?
closed the entire
He did
fucking
too.
He gives me-
podcast.
Before the
shit.
podcast, Sean didn't have a button down, and Adam's like, "You're just gonna come in a t-shirt?" And Sean's like, "All right, I'll put something on." And then you're out of
Listen,
his
I am
tanky
the
is off.
owner and manager of this fucking podcast. I can do whatever the fuck I want. So,
Oh, so you can just cry and
wah,
that's all I hear all the time.
wah. Other than that, I think I'm going to end this with, guys, please go sign up for the May 22nd T-Force tournament. That is the biggest thing that we have going for us. Yes, we like your donations. Yes, we like all that. We don't get anything from doing this other than the satisfaction that we made you guys better at this game.
Hold on. Some of us get drunk.
Well, I'm going to get drunk, but I have to pay my own money to get drunk.
Obviously, we're getting drunk.
Duh. Dom and I are going to cast a game that night.
Here's
What
the
night?
thing.
Oh, that night?
Yeah,
During
yeah.
that bake?
Yeah. Me and you are going to cast a game. I
Oh.
just
Are you gonna
decided.
cast it on our channel or Victoria's Gaming
Both.
channel?
Both.
All of it.
It's going to be
Do
on.
they have the explicit tag?
Yeah, he knows. I've already talked about Victoria's Gaming.
I want to get him in trouble.
Because I talked to Greg and I said, Greg, you know, if I shoutcast with you ever, that fucks and pisses and cunts could fly, right? And he's like, yeah, I don't want you to not be yourself, so that's fine.
I like Greg. Greg's
I do too. He's a good guy.
We're going to have Greg back on the podcast here in a couple weeks, too,
Good.
by the way. So, other than that, that is episode 159 of the podcast. Anybody have anything else to say?
Good night.
Good night,
Yeah.
guys. Thanks a lot for listening to episode 159. Please go check out TrinityForcePodcast.com. We do have the hub up there. Oz LOL and the Trinity Force T-Force LCS rundown do post twice a week. Well,
Yeah, give us some
That's right,
feedback
so-
on those. We know there are a lot more new listeners out there. We love you.
a lot of new listeners. So, yes, please give us feedback. Feedback at TrinityForcePodcast.com. That is the episode 159, guys. We will see you all next week.
Peace.
Bye, guys.